Hey guys, I'm going to do the Parthenon again today. Used it once before, but it was with my old blade that is quite dull. I'm going to use a newer blade with it and give it a better, more fair evaluation. Brush for today is this one from Yaqi, 24 millimeter, and it's a two-band brush, as you can see, light, thick area of dark. And it's a Finest Badger from them, and it's pretty good. It's got some backbone, but the tips are fairly soft. Just used it a handful of times, so I'm looking forward to putting some uses on it. I'm going to continue to use Puzzle again today from Declaration Grooming. It's a contest we got going right now. This is the 2019 contest version. This is the third iteration of the contest. Gillette Silver Blue is a favorite razor of mine. Works well for me in many razors. And this is a young one with just about 5 uses on it or so. You see those glue dots. Alright, now one of the issues with the Parthenon is if you have it on a mild setting, these doors don't really open a lot, and so you may be able to just set the blade in there like that. I had to tilt it a little bit, you know, to get it through the doors. The current setting is 5. I'm gonna start today's shave with a 3. That's often with Gillette adjustables where I like to have my razor set. So let's see how that works with this QShave. So again, if we want to try to bring the blade out, we can slowly do it with it set at a 3, but as you can see, we can't really do it if we keep the blade flat. So what I would do is tilt the blade slightly and it can go in. Alternatively, you can adjust the aggression setting to the highest number. The doors will open plenty wide enough to get your blade in without a hassle. To me, that's not really a big deal. Even if I had to open it all the way up by changing my setting, it's not that hard for me to manipulate. If you've got weak hands, it might be hard to twist that, but I think your average guy is not going to have a problem with it. So there we go. The write-up says this is a brass razor. It's about $40, and so it's going to compete with a vintage Gillette adjustable like a Fat Boy, a Slim, or a Super. It's not going to compete with contemporary adjustables like the Rex Ambassador because that's made of stainless steel and it's way more expensive. Will it compete with the adjustables from Merkur? Maybe. As far as I know, those guys are Zamac, and so this could, if it shaves well, then it might be a better purchase than a Merkur that's not going to last as long. It says brass, and so I'm sure there's some brass in it. Maybe all the components are brass, but sometimes with these components up here in the mechanism, so that would be interesting if there's a way we could verify that. I got the version with the not the black right here, just this matte colored silver material, chrome or whatever it is. And I'm happy with it. The first shave I did with it, I'm pretty happy with. Alright, the blade's in there. Now I've just used this soap a handful of times and already I've flattened down the surface, so that tells me that this is a softer soap than, say, Sterling or Chiseled Face. It'll be interesting to see how much of this product I use up, and therefore a tub of Sterling lasts me about a year and a month. A tub of Chiseled Face I think was 11 months, or I may be flipping those two. I don't think I am. And that's a long time for an economical tub of soap. Well, this is less economical, so I'm interested to see. And so that's why I'm interested in putting another use on this guy. Of course, in addition to perhaps gaining another note as I'm trying to diagnose the scent notes. So I think you've seen everything. So let's go ahead going to throw some water in my face. And I have a normal 24-hour growth today on my beard, shaking most of the water out of the brush. I have had this soaking. This is a finest brush, and so it's possible that there's been some treatment on the tips, and sometimes you get a softer shave if you soak for a little bit. So I started at about 32. Let's do let's just do a 40. You know, this feels kind of draggy, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to add some water to the soap here. Let's go ahead and add a half a teaspoon. Okay, I think I mixed for about 8 seconds or so. So let's do, we'll do 22 seconds. I was going to do 40, so we'll do 32, up to the 32 mark on this, on my camera clock here. Feels a little less draggy. "40 seconds just kind of gives me plenty of wiggle room probably. And I'll have that in about 2 seconds now. And there we go. So the bores that I've used, this is a denser brush. So I think maybe it needed a little bit more water with it. It's okay if we lose bristles when we are shaving. If it's a new brush, less than 50 shaves or so, I don't mind losing some bristles. Now, who knows? Are we going to start mixing this up and realize that this is twice as much lather as we need? We shall see. To get things kind of moving, I'm going to go ahead and put in the rest. So now we've got 2 teaspoons that we've added to kind of start making the lather. I'm very happy with this soap base so far. 30 seconds with bore brushes, small bore brushes. Kind of comes close to giving me 3 passes with a touch-up. Lately I've preferred a little bit more load time. And then I think about 3 or 4 teaspoons of water is what I add. Just a ballpark, because you know you do have to be adaptable every time. You might be able to hear my voice is a little weird today. I've been a little hoarse, a little throat something going on. Nasal drainage causing problems, you know, that sort of thing. I don't know if I'm sick or not, but so we'll see. Got this brush on, don't remember if it was Black Friday. I don't think it was. I think it was that 11/11 sale. Nice ergonomic handle. Really happy with that. Okay, now we've got 3 teaspoons in it. See how it looks after 3 teaspoons. Looking pretty good. This soap's not going to it's not going to give you a lather that's foamy, with air bubbles and things like that in it. I mean, if you mix it at all very much, it's just not that kind, chemically speaking. But it'll be creamy and wet and slick and work really well for you. don't think I've read too many people having problems lathering Milksteak. Don't have a large volume of lather here. So now we've got 4 teaspoons in it. With yesterday's 40-second load with a small badger, I had to add about 4.5 teaspoons of soap. So this is a larger knot, a lot more bristles, and a reasonable backbone. I'm interested to see how different its ratio might be. The soap has changed textures now. Before it was gathering up in the bowl, but now it's much more relaxed. Look at that. More flat in the bowl. Before it had heavier peaks and less contours. I'm sorry, more contours like curls and peaks and things like that. Now it's a lot more smoothed out, so maybe it's time to quit adding water now. Let's look at the stretch we have here. Look at that. Very elastic. Large amount came up with the clod and then couldn't support its own weight. Something to look at as you figure out where you like to have your soap base. Alright, so wet my face again. Some people do a pre-shave routine, washing their face maybe with a glycerin soap. Some do oils and things like that. I don't do oils especially. Sometimes I might wash my face or take a shower before the shave. But all I do is a few minutes ago, you know, when I put water on my face, that's just to start softening out my beard. Alright. Seems to work alright for me. Other people may have to do more of a pre-shave cleaning routine, but it works for me, what I do. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it just is. Brush feels good on my face. It's not pillowy soft. But it's definitely nothing, you know, not scratchy. It's not really shoving my face around very much like a lot of the, you know, synthetics do. As I go back and forth in my neck, that's kind of prime time for me to look at the lather. See right here? It's not clumpy or anything like that right here. It's nice and flat, almost like a farm rose, nice smooth farm rose. And so that probably means I'm in a pretty good zone. Although as I'm moving the brush around this way, it feels a little pasty. But I think I discovered that that's just kind of the way, maybe the way Milksteak is. But you know what we can do? We can test that out. I'm going to refill my syringe. So if I use all of this syringe, it'll be 6 teaspoons. I'm going to put a little bit in the brush. Make sure it doesn't leak out the bottom. I'm going to lean my head over like this and keep the brush pointed down. And when I said leak out the bottom, I meant toward the handle. Let's do the same for the other side. And yeah, see, we are starting to make more lather. So that's often a sign that you did need to add water. Lather starts coming out the side of your brush. It is starting to feel a little bit less pasty now. So I think I'm happy with what I'm doing here. I'm going to keep going a little bit. So you saw how elastic that lather was, and it still needed more water. That is uncommon. That's not typical. And it was the face feel that told me that it was pasty and needed more water. So far I've added over a half a teaspoon to it here. So I'll definitely add some to the bowl and then make sure it gets mixed in. And look, see, all this is new. I scraped all this away earlier. Some people choose to add water to their brush by having a sink full of water or a bowl, and you dip the brush in and then you work it. But to me, that's very messy. Sometimes that water that you add just kind of slings off. I find this method to work pretty well for me. Some people have some, they reach down and they into the sink of water and just get some on their fingers and pull it up drop by drop. But as you can see, I've used 3/4 of a teaspoon right now. So that would be a lot of drops if I were to do it that way. So maybe I'll try to remember next time that kind of elasticity that we saw is not quite the arrival time yet. Good news is my face is getting a nice scrubbing, having plenty of time for the lather to work into my skin and lay down a nice protective slickness layer. That is what we want. This frothy stuff that's thick, that's not helpful. Only that tiny little bit that's right next to your skin is effective and helpful in your shaving. That's what you want to focus on. All right, let's just go with that. Now I'm just going to add the rest of the syringe here into the bowl, because I had to add almost a full teaspoon just to this one pass. So I'll bet I need to add more to this right here. I don't believe that's over watering. I could be wrong, we'll just see. You know, one thing you can do to kind of even things out, after I integrate it here, if this is too wet, then if I go to my face, I can kind of wipe off the excess, go to my face, kind of remove kind of some of the excess, go back in here and add it back in. This is kind of like if you've got a drink that you're trying to mix and you've got 2 cups, one is off in a ratio, you know, you can pour them back and forth into each other and gradually the ratio will equalize, kind of like that. So again, I could scrape it off. And this is a fairly inexpensive brush. Now, here's the catch. Macedo brushes, their finest badger is softer. Probably just as much backbone. And the Memphis handle is pretty nice. It may not be quite as ergonomic as this one because it's a little thinner, but it's very nice. And so my more enjoyable brush would then definitely be the Macedo. All right. Because I think it's a $40 brush, this one might be somewhat close to that. Maybe it's not quite up to that. I think the Macedo is $45. Maybe this one's $35. I probably got it for a little better since I bought it on sale. All right. QShave Parthenon. Named so because of the columnar look that they were going for. Greek or Roman construction. All right, let's remove the unshavable area. This is the version 2 of the Parthenon. Feel is really good right now. You do hear, you know, a little bit of audio, a little bit of this scrapey sound. But it's not too bad. It doesn't feel scrapey. The Fat Boy, for instance, is one of my favorite razors. And it doesn't have that same amount of audio. The first Parthenon was very aggressive. Well, it seems like they have worked to bring this version 2 a little bit more under control. It's a very comfortable shave with this Gillette Silver Blue in it. Felt like it's going to be a nice close shave as well. Alright, a little partial rinse. Now let's gather up that lather again. So for me, the Macedo is the better choice. Similar price point, softer tips. However, if you don't value the softer tips as much, you maybe want, you know, a little bit more of a massagey feel, a little bit more scrub, then this might excel. This might be your preference over the Macedo. All right, I'm going to keep it on 3. Yes, here's the way the setting looks. It's kind of etched. Here's the 3, and then above it is a dash. It's not easy to see. However, since it's not painted, and if it really is etched, I don't know. Yeah, that feels etched. And that means it's not going to go away. It's not going to flake off. An ultrasonic cleaner, it's not going to pop off, you know, that sort of thing. So that, you know, that's nice, and it does. It's unobtrusive. It doesn't really get in the way of the stylings. And with an adjustable, in many cases, people will take that adjustable, set it as their favorite setting, and leave it there. So for those people, of course, that is fine as well. All right, cross grain now. The optimum angle, or at least a good comfortable angle that does seem to be shaving well. Seems to be pretty natural, pretty easy to find. It's a heavy razor. To me at least. Now when I'm gripping it with my normal grip like you see now, it doesn't really feel super heavy. But every once in a while in this area here, I'll switch around and do a pull grip like this. And then that heaviness really comes into play. It's very noticeable. And that, I'm not saying that the head is where the weight is. the balance is pretty, it's right here, and that's fairly normal for a lot of razors to have the balance be right around there. Still very comfortable, pretty secure feeling. I don't feel like I'm gonna, get nicked or anything like that. I do feel the blade's edge, but like I said, it's comfortable. And so I guess there is a chance if I botched up a direction, went against the grain when I shouldn't, and I believe that wasn't this razor, but if I didn't have my skin flat in like a neck fold area, then, it could catch something. But it feels very secure and consistent. All right, third pass. Got plenty of lather, so it looks like I could have gone with a 30-second load and still had plenty. Don't really need to do too much scrubbing. I can just switch to painting pretty quickly. Lay down a nice layer. You can make it a thick layer if you've got, tons of excess, but it doesn't really help your shave any more than a thin layer does. Keep it on, we'll keep it on 3 just for grins and see how that reacts. So Fat Boys are relatively easy to obtain, Slims even more so. The Fat Boys were made in I think maybe a 2-year time period or just a smaller time period. Then they switched and started making the Slims. And so the Fat Boys are often a little more expensive because there's fewer of them. But I like the girth and the balance and the feel. Some people like the shave of the Slim a little better. To me, it's the heft of the razor is more important in this case because I just really didn't notice too much difference in the closeness of the shave. Or the performance, of the razor. Someday maybe I'll work on that a little bit, see if I can tell for sure. Definitely like the balance of the Fat Boy more, even though this has a longer handle, and sometimes that can really balance a razor out. As I'm, shaking it out and manipulating it, it's very clear that the head is on the heavy side. All right, let's do a neck only pass now after our rinse. Now the shave we have right now is several hairs in my trouble spot area. I have a little bit of length on them. Now it's still a very good shave. Very, very nice close cut on my cheeks. Definitely don't have to do those anymore. I could easily walk into most jobs with this shave and not even be considered, for a military term, out of uniform. Civilian term, just not with a great shave, I guess. But let's just see what happens if a more targeted touch up here is done. Pulling my skin a little bit, lifting my chin away. If it was on the opposite side, it would be the same thing. I might even switch my grip, but use this hand to pull away and lift my chin up that way. Now this hair goes this way and then turns down. And so when I have been doing this so far, this so far with it, that's a cross grain. when it hits this area. It's kind of with the grain up here, but it turns cross grain as it gets right here. And so a strategy in a tricky neck area that if you can't go against the grain, like me, gives me irritation and cuts, then you can go cross grain, but in a slightly different angle. Maybe flip it over 180, and that is what I have done in recent years, and it often gives me good results. Very light touch here. And that area is where I have to stop and then go other directions. If I were to keep going from here up to my jawline, I start getting into a different hair direction, and it goes against the grain. Sometimes it can take a while to learn the directions of certain areas of your face. My cheeks are easy, pretty much straight from top to bottom is the way the hair is growing. Over here, kind of goes this way, but then this quarter of the picture right here is where things get all wonky. That was comfortable. It felt very controlled. I didn't get bitten with a little bit too much roughness. I don't think it's going to stir up any irritation, at least nothing that anywhere decent balm isn't going to be able to handle. Now, the way that pass was feeling was really good. I felt like I was going to come away with a nice shave in this area. It wasn't as good as that. I can still see length on one hair, maybe two, and that's still a good improvement. I didn't stir up any irritation. So what I'm going to do is, I've got this alcohol splash, but sometimes if I throw on, with my skin at least, if I throw on an alcohol splash right after a shave, it can stir up some irritation and inflammation. So I'm going to do some cleaning up and just give my skin a chance to relax before I throw on the splash. In terms of the water used, I did go ahead and use the rest of the syringe. I'm glad I did. I really liked that lather on the second and third. It wasn't as thick as that first one, the first pass. And it's very slick, and I still have probably 3 passes here in the bowl. So I could definitely have backed off in terms of the soap usage. Very elastic, very wet and slick. A light feel to it. See how I mixed it up around, and it's very flat. Doesn't have a lot of contours. Sometimes a soap will look like that when it's properly well hydrated. Some soaps do and some soaps don't. And here I pull it up. That little peak collapsed on itself there. And look at this. Look at the contours on this brush. Not very many. There's the one peak when I pulled it away from the bowl. That's pretty much it. Wonderful feeling lather. Slickness, you feel it on your face. A creaminess as well. Nice rinses. Very good feel. Very good sensory experience with this lather, with this soap base. This is a competent shaver. Earlier I said when putting in the blade I didn't necessarily have to change the aggression setting. Let me show you what it looks like. We're going to go down to the minimal aggression setting, and then we'll open the doors for you. And see, that's as far as they open. Don't go any farther than that. Now let's mostly close it and dial it up to the max, which is a half a notch above 9. So maybe it goes to 10. Now let's see, that's a lot more. I told you that the blade could squeeze by and through that 3 setting by turning it a little bit. Well, I found myself needing to open it up more when it came time to cleaning it. Just running a towel through it just to kind of clean off all the water, dry it off, you know. For that, I did have to open that up. And so knowing that, next time I might open it up just so that the blade comes out easier, knowing that I'm going to have to do that anyway. So I'm back to 3 now, and that's how much it opens at 3. So who might like this? Obviously somebody who likes this design, this look. It is a competent shaver. If it's all brass, then it's going to last for a long time, it looks like. Grip is good. The first time I shaved with it, I switched grips from here to flip it around to this pull grip, and the length of the handle kind of got caught in my hand, and it was a little cumbersome. But I appeared to have naturally overcome that because I didn't have that problem at all today. You definitely, it's a ding. It's a little bit of a ding because there's definitely a feel of the heaviness of the head. The balance, even when gripping it kind of right here, there is definitely a feel. Not just when you're really moving it around. I think that feel kind of disappears as you're actually shaving to some degree. So an interesting razor. Wonder if it'll find a niche. If it was $10 cheaper, I would say definitely. If it was $30 instead of about $40, then man, I would highly recommend it. But the cost is justified, I think, if this is all brass. Plated brass. So interesting. It's not going to compete with the Rex. It might compete with the Fat Boy, but obviously if you're a vintage lover, the Fat Boy will be the one you choose. This is a little heavier than like the Fat Boy and the Slim, I believe. It's noticeable. So we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. If I sell it, it might be because of just the balance of it, just being a little too head-centric. Because it gave me a good shave. I'm happy with the comfort, and I think that's right, kind of where a 3 should fall. Pretty efficient. I did feel the efficiency, but a nice close shave and comfort as well. And so then I believe, therefore, the 2 and the 1 are going to offer you more smoothness and more comfort. And then you step up from there if you need more aggression and more cutting, if you've got a little tougher skin than me. All right, so let's throw on this Puzzle Splash. A little shake. No menthol in this one. I like that. A little bit of stinging in a few places. And the stinging's gone. So not much. Nice shave. Happy with the closeness. Respectable razor is the verdict. We'll use it more. Maybe. Try it at a try the 2 setting. See if I get the same shave, the same efficiency, the same closeness at a 2. Could be really comfy. Be interested in finding that out. This guy, what can we expect from him? Fairly soft. There are softer ones out there at similar price points, I think. We can expect from him that he'll maybe open up just a little bit more, be a little less dense feeling on the face, a little bit easier display. That would make me happier. But he's a good brush. I like him. Yaqi apparently. Does pretty good brushes. I think that's it today. I think I'm ready to go to sleep. I sure hope there was something here in this shave that helped you out. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. You take care. Good night.